And I want to close this section on making progress with a discussion on the informal chats and the formal interviews themselves. I'm grouping them together because they need similar preparation beforehand, fully engaged presence during, and follow-up afterwards. In preparation, practice as much as you can, getting better at talking about your hunt with the fellow hunters, your accountability buddies, and your personal advisory board and other mentors. Try out your 2 triangles pitch, either the generic one or a specific tailored version for an upcoming chat or interview with a hiring organization. After you finish, say with a fellow hunter, you could ask, what really resonated there? What sounded like me? And what would you edit? When seeking advice from your mentor level, you could communicate your 2 triangles verbally, then ask, from where you sit, what jobs do you think I would suit? Get easily. Find a stretch. Do you know of any people that would be ideal to talk to next? So you're now ready, I think, to prep for your informal chat with the new person that could really help you. Look through your 2 triangles in advance. The who I am, who's about to try and connect authentically with the who they are at this moment. What's my potential story from the top down? Am I ready with my relevant stories that I think will resonate this time? And a last thought on preparation, and it's in the framework I covered at the start. 3 levels, 2 triangles, and 1 square. We've covered the levels of knowing oneself, to knowing the stories, to communicating and selling to others. And via the 2 triangles, you're now ready for the square. It's box breathing. The idea is to conduct a reset for yourself before each important conversation and meeting. How can you center and switch into the task at hand from whatever other pressures were in your day or week prior? It's a practice done by the Navy SEALs, athletes, and executives of just breathing in for a count of 4, holding your lungs full, breathing out for a count of 4, and then holding your lungs empty. You can repeat that 2, 3, or 4 times. I think of it like unplugging or switching off a gadget or appliance that was getting overloaded and plugging it back in and switching it back on again. It's great to reset before these important meetings and moments. And this goes for anything, well beyond the hunt, even to filming here. Once you're in the meeting, be it an informational chat or a more formal interview, remember to listen actively. Stu DeQ at Yale Center for Business and Environment told me about the 2 numbers which I always now pull into just about any leadership workshop I'm involved in. 400 and 125. 400 is the number of words per minute one can listen at, and 125 is the speed we can talk and communicate. The key in active listening is to use that spare brain capacity between the 2 numbers and not just listen for a space in what the other person is saying before getting on with our sell, but to take our listening to the next levels of truly seeking to understand the other, then taking in the full context of what is being said and what is communicated unsaid, to truly notice and take the conversation to a good new place. A practice to help you listen better that we cover in our graduate school orientation, masterfully done in and outside our training by Andy Creel, is called looping. L is for listening, really listening. O is for offer. Offer up what you think you heard and play it back. Second O is for observe. Really pay attention to how they react to what you offered. What do you think needs changing? Or indeed, P. P is for polishing. Try again until you know you've got it right. This technique of inquiry, enabling increased understanding, can't always be done in full, but checking in to really ensure you've heard what the other person is saying is a lifelong skill to master, especially for your hunt, and useful, of course, once you land the role. In the room with a person, can you think about your humility sweet spot, covered in Module 2? Knowing when you're at risk of underselling yourself and your capabilities, and also knowing when you're at risk of floating up and coming across as overconfident. Remember, I love Christensen's definition of humility here as having high, not low, self-esteem, as well as holding high esteem for others. An optional off-ramp here for further reading on cross-cultural conversations, which could be especially useful for you if you are contemplating moving country, for instance, as part of this move, is to read The Culture Map by Aaron Mayer. The learnings here could take your listening and communicating to a whole new level, and like listening skills in general, would likely be useful once you're in the role, not just in landing the role. As you approach the end of the conversation, for the informal chat, can you plan to come away with an action? Is there advice you can get from the person on what to do next, or who to go talk to? That idea of advice is Phil Terry's golden question. For the more formal interview, can you assess how the interview has gone and help the interviewer summarize what they should be taking from their conversation with you? Over the years when I've been an interviewer, my consistently favorite question, and one I always ask for any role for more than 20 years, is, okay, imagine we finish this interview now and you leave the office, press the red button on Zoom, and then you slap your forehead because you didn't say X, either because I didn't ask the right question or you forgot to mention something. If we finish the interview now, but you got a chance to say X, what would it be? Here, I'm looking out for two things, at least. First, the interviewee's self-awareness on how the last hour went. If they had spotted any weaknesses in their responses or had forgotten to say something, or had really wanted to say something but hadn't been given the opportunity. Some people over the years have spotted when maybe I wrinkled my nose at a response or sensed I had thought something was missing. Secondly, I'm looking out for their ability to package their candidacy for the role. Can they give me the reasons they really think this role is right for them? That it's exactly what they're looking for, the A, B, C, D of the left triangle? And that they are the person we should hire, the E, F, G, H of the right triangle. So even if you don't get asked my favorite interview question of all time, maybe you can find a way of answering it by the end of the interview. And last but not least, the follow-up. Remember I said a couple of modules back that I might target 8 out of 10 of my conversations and interviews with a follow-up thank you note? Please, please make this number 100% in your goals. In a recent survey by the Green Recruitment Company of hiring managers, it was reported that only 64% of interviewees thank the interviewer afterwards. Please don't be in the 36. 68% of hirers said it had a positive impact on them when they were thanked. And 20%, that's large here, went further and said they dismissed or downgraded the didn't thanks. To again draw on a sales analogy, and it's not a bad parallel as we are selling our services to the next job opportunity, there's a nice set of statistics from the National Sales Executive Association, including 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. Only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. But 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. I don't know if there's a similar figure available for networking, approaching, and interviewing in the hunt, but please do think about how many contacts are needed to get to interview and to get to a level of familiarity and trust that you need with your network and with the hiring organization in order to land that role. From successful first, second, third, and more round interviews to land that right role, there is such a tremendous variation by sector, by seniority, by function, by role, by geography, that I don't want to dive into too many specifics here. My guiding thought for you is to treat the process of landing the job, of negotiating the details of the role, including compensation and more, as if it is showing the other party who you are, how you live your values, and how you conduct yourself. Because of course it is. And can you treat it as if how you handle it is signaling how you would handle important matters for the organization once you're hired? because you are likely signaling that to the other side. And on the flip side, the organization is doing the same to you. They are showing you how their values come to life and how they treat important matters such as hiring you. I have heard of stories of how long-term relationships are cemented at this stage when it goes well, but it's tough. And also when the hiring stops because one side of this process realizes that this particular job move or hire is no longer right. To conclude this module on progress, we have covered a way to bring all your inner work on the hunt into one consolidated spreadsheet that you can use to take your hunt out into the real world and hustle. We then covered ways to create and cultivate your network or community, that essential group of people that will help you find your next role, and indeed help you throughout your career. I still have my list up to date now. And then we covered how your approach to email reach outs, chats, and interviews can all be based upon and tailored from one consistent way of communicating what you really want to work on and what you're really excited to bring.